Hello everyone, it's Kari, and today I'm going to share with you my secrets for creating masculine cards. I have a formula that I came up with my husband, and here's the list of some of the things that we thought would be good for masculine themes and colors. Now you can pause the video if you want to look at this a little bit longer, but today I'm going to create 5 cards and I'm using these colors and these themes with these 3 techniques. So I've given myself a bit of a challenge and I'm going to share all of them with you today in this quick video. The first one, I'm going to take a dark cardstock. This is a black cardstock that I have in my stash, and I'm going to use this stencil from Altenew called the Halftone Stencil. It's really great for some bold looks on your cards. Today I'm going to use the new speckled egg distress oxide to ink that through the stencil onto this black cardstock. And this is a fun technique because distress oxides show up really great on darker cardstock when other inks wouldn't show up so great. Then I'm going to take some distress. This is the embossing glaze that is sort of transparent when you glaze with it. I lost the footage on that, but I'll show you in just a minute. I offset the stencil and then I embossed that glaze right over the top. So you get kind of a dual look. Now I'm going to create a metallic element for this card, as that was one of my choices, and I'm going to heat emboss this 3 times at a minimum so that I get a really great metallic look to this piece. One of the tricks that I learned from an Altenew course was that you can create kind of a holder with some cardstock, and so that's what I did here. And sometimes it likes to stick to that cardstock because of the embossing, so I just reheat it, take my craft pick and help that come right off that holder, and it works beautifully. So great, and there's no burning of fingers with this one. Now here you can see in the light a little bit of that embossed glaze on there, embossing glaze. It really is a really neat look, and this card was a very simple masculine card to put together. We've got our blacks, blues, and metallics on this one, along with some embossing and stenciling techniques to pull together a really bold card. I'm going to add a sub-sentiment to this one. I'll stamp that with the same distress oxide in the speckled egg that says, "I believe in you." And then to put this card together, it's very simple. I'm going to pop up that sub-sentiment with some foam adhesive, some foam tape here. And this foam tape is one that I really love. It is just the right size to fit on that sentiment also. And then I'll just take some liquid adhesive to add that metallic piece right to the card, just so simple. Now because this is a little bit heavier, I'll take an acrylic block or 2 and place it over the top so that that can adhere down really well to the card, and then I'll go ahead and add the sub-sentiment. I'll attach the entire panel to a top folding card, and there we have our very first masculine card. This one was pretty quick and easy to put together, and we have all of those elements that we chose at the beginning. That's one of the things that I think makes making a masculine card easier, is to choose your themes, your colors, and maybe some techniques that you want to do, and it makes it easy to create a number of them at the same time. Just going to trim off some of that white that showed up there at the bottom for this card, and there you have it. So pretty. I hope you can kind of see that offset embossing glaze that I added there. It adds an extra element of geometric look. For my second card, I'm going to take this layered snowflake stars cover die B, and I'm just going to clean out all of those little triangles that come in here. Now this is a snowflake cover die, but if you highlight certain aspects of this die, it turns into a beautiful geometric card. I'm just going to remove those extra little pieces here with my retractable craft pick, and then I am going to take this die cut and adhere it directly to a card panel here, white on white. This creates a beautiful texture for your cards, and I really love the look. But we're going to start to highlight just some of those triangles with some of our colors that we've chosen. For this one, I'm doing a steel blue, and I'm just kind of choosing some of the spots that I think are going to look good for this particular card. And then I'm going to take some extra of those triangles that came out of the die, and I'm going to color them with a black copic marker. And then I'll place some of those in here and there to just highlight the geometric aspect that I'm using for this set of masculine cards today. So easy to do, and I'm just going to do a few here. You can color these in any color you want. It doesn't have to be a masculine card, obviously, but today we're going to use those steel blues and blacks. Then I'm going to take this Monstera leaves die, and I really love this die. It's a layering die, so you can take two pieces, layer them upon each other to give you more of a 3D look. So I will cut these leaves, the main leaves, out with the steel blue, the steel gray, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do the rest. But first, one thing that really helps me to keep my dies together and know which ones go with which is to take a magnet card. This is a really sturdy one that I've found that I really have been loving, and it's an 8x7 larger magnet sheet. And I'm going to place the pieces that go together with each other. That's one of the secrets I do. Every time I get a new die that they have layering pieces, I find the pieces that go together and I put them together just like this. Now, in this particular Monstera 3D die set, there are 4 pieces that are not layering pieces. And it does say here on the picture that these are non-layering pieces, just extras that you can use. So I've put the ones together that go together and those 4 that are extra pieces in their own little spot on this magnet sheet. And that makes it so much easier when I'm cutting out my die cuts. So I hope that tip kind of helps you a little bit. I'm going to be using the ones that all face in the same direction. And then this is the stamp set that I've used for many of my sentiments for this card series today. It's a sans serif font with no extra frills, so I think it really works well with our masculine theme. For this one, I'm going to heat emboss the happy birthday in a silver embossing powder. That matches the layering die that I cut out. I cut out one layer with a steel blue and one layer with a silver paper. It's a silver foil paper. You could emboss that layer as well, but I thought the silver paper would be easier in this case. And so now I'm going to go ahead and glue those layers together. And I wanted an extra element. I wanted to bring that black color in, so I decided to color the stems of each of these leaves with that same black copic marker, and that just kind of pulls it all together. I'll pop those leaves up with some 3D foam squares here, and there is our geometric happy birthday nature card with leaves. That one actually happens to be my husband's favorite card out of all of them, by the way. I'm now going to take this stencil here and I'm going to use that same speckled egg distress oxide color to start off with the base. This one's going to be a little more blue, bring a few more blues into the card, and also we're going to have some metallic elements on this one as well. This stencil technique is really fun. I'm going to add some darker blues to just a portion of the design on this stencil, and then we're going to go in with an even darker color. I'll list all the colors and the supplies also if you're interested to know which ones I've used. This is the Chipped Sapphire Distress Oxide. I'm just going to take a small blender brush here and add it to the very, very center of each of those designs. It's going to create kind of an ombre look on this stencil. And one thing that I love to do is take a stencil and emboss it through my die cut machine. I hope you can see a little bit of that on the back here of the card or the panel. I did put a piece of paper over the top before I embossed it with the embossing mat. I didn't want any of that ink to transfer to my cutting plate, so just a word to the wise, cover it first with an extra piece of paper to save some cleanup. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this metallic silver, and this is the Nuvo Glacier paste in Quicksilver. I'm just going to take a little bit of this with a palette knife. This one I like to use for the tip here. See how small that palette knife gets at the end? Just to add a little bit of metallic shine to the very center of this design. This is going to dry and it will look like silver foil on there. It's such a neat trick. I'm going to go wash those stencil and the supplies right away and set those aside to dry. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to use this cube builder stencil to create a design with the colors that I chose earlier for these masculine cards. I threw some antique linen in for this one and it turned out a little bit on the yellow side, but I don't mind that. I thought it added just some fun sunshine color, a little bit of brightness to this card, and it's going to get a little covered up as well. Now for this one, I was thinking of how my husband loves to go to Hawaii and loves to travel, and so I decided to use the Hibiscus 3D dies for this. I fell down a little bit on this one because I added one of the hibiscus flowers, which truthfully is not in and of itself terribly masculine. However, I think it might work for this card, and I'll show you why. But I was inspired by this bag here to do a design that's kind of the chevron design in these colors, and I think it turned out quite nice. So for that hibiscus, I cut it out with some grays and silver papers, and some of it is a metallic paper even, to create more of a masculine look for this flower. And then I inked up the background with that same antique linen distress oxide to create the sentiment strip. I'm using the Thinking of You from that stamp set I showed you earlier, which was the geometric landscapes. And this I'm going to cut out for the sentiment strip on this card. I love that it pulls it all together and it adds some more brightness also. See, you can see some of that shine there for this card. Now going back to this card that we had just done, all of that foil, or the foil look, is dry from the Glacier paste. So I'm going to glue this on. I did cut it down so that there is a little bit of a white border around this one. I went ahead and stamped a sentiment on some black cardstock, and this is the leaf that I stamped and embossed in silver, and then I added some gold dots over the top. Let me get the set to show you. It's this one here, the Dot Botanicals. So I silver embossed that first layer, and then I gold embossed the top layer, and they kind of meld together to create this really neat textured look, which also provides that metallic element to our card. So pretty. I popped it up on some black foam, fun foam, and then for the sentiment it says, "We are better together." I used this Hero Arts Altenew stamp set, and there's that foil. It matches the embossing. And let me show you the cards we've created so far. Here's this one with the embossing glaze over the top, kind of an offset stencil look, and there's that metallic embellishment we created with multiple embossings. Here's the leaf one with the metal foil paper and the happy birthday sentiment. We added some geometrics to that one, and then this one with the hibiscus in the gold, or I'm sorry, the silver and the black papers with a little bit of color. We added some antique linen in there to add a little tan. And then I felt like I'm going to show you one more variation on that hibiscus card. So just in case the flower is a little too much for you for a masculine card, how about we simplify a little bit, add some silver metallic paper to a black background, and then simply add one of the Monstera leaves that's die cut with black and metallic papers to add to that. I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape onto that cube builder background that we created. This time I only used the weathered wood, pumice stone, and black soot colors, and didn't add the antique linen, so it creates more of a basic masculine look. I heat embossed the Thinking of You, and then we'll add that Monstera leaf right there to the center. This one is a little more masculine if you were worried about the flowers, but it does bring in that nature element that I was talking about that I chose at the very beginning. I'm going to pop up that Monstera leaf on the focal point here, just using some foam squares, and there's that card. I'll attach it to a top folding card base, and simple enough to put this one together. I think the longest part was just inking that stencil for the background, but it really creates that geometric background and adds that geometric element as a part of this card. I'm just going to use my favorite liquid adhesive here, the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, to attach it to the card base. And there are all of our masculine cards put together using our colors, our themes, and our techniques. I love a good metallic element to a card, and look at how that shines and it's popped up. There's a look at those two cards there. Here's the rest of the cards. I hope you enjoyed this process video with some of my secrets of how I create masculine cards, how I choose them, what elements I decide to put together. This was a really fun challenge. If you are up to it, I challenge you to take 3 of the elements and 3 of the colors and put them together and see if you can create a set of masculine cards for yourself that you love. Here's a look at all of the cards together. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I love all your comments as well. I read them all, and even if I can't respond to them all, I do enjoy and appreciate the kind comments. I hope to see you next time. I'll be back real soon with some more inspiration. Thanks so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.